Hey guys, welcome to the sixth episode of the Merging Minds podcast. Welcome. Today we're going to be interviewing Alaina, who's a success coach and helping you understand yourself better and how to align yourself with your end goals and see your whole potential and rewire your belief system, your operating systems, and go into real depth about how you actually work and how you can shift that to align with reaching your goals and fulfilling your purpose and reaching your whole potential. So let's go in and learn more about that with Alaina. Hey, Alaina.
Oh, hey, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Oh, wait, you know what? It would help if I did this. I didn't realize I wasn't doing that.
No worries. Awesome. Where are you from again?
I live in the Hudson Valley, which is just north. Actually, let me just turn that off
Yeah.
too. Um, just north of New York City.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, that you live in the beautiful nature.
I do. I live in exquisite nature. If I had to be anywhere in the world right now, although there's probably a lot of other places that are extremely beautiful, but I'm psyched I'm
Yeah,
here,
it's a perfect
given
place
what's
to be
going on
right
in the
now.
world and the
Yeah,
country. Yeah.
exactly. Awesome. Well, tell me more about what you do again. I know you're a success coach, but like, go more details for that.
I like that title. So what I help people do is scale their impact and ultimately scale their income, but create time and financial freedom in the process. Because what ends up happening is entrepreneurs build businesses, as they tend, a lot of them, many of them tend to work more, and believe they have to work harder to succeed or get to the next level of success, and they achieve a lot of burnout and overwhelm, in the process of that. So that's what a lot of them experience, of like, how can I possibly grow my business even beyond where I am now, given what's already going on in my life. That's
Yeah.
my cat.
Wow.
So I help them create, essentially time and financial freedom while being able to scale their impact.
That's awesome. So it sounds like then you also help them kind of stay balanced because they're dealing with a lot.
I consider it an integrative life, because like when I look at a scale of balance, right? So you can have it here, but usually one thing's up, which means the other thing's down,
Right.
right? So when you're looking at balance, it tends to be going like this a bunch, which doesn't really feel
Right.
very balanced. Whereas an integrative life is like, how do I create the lifestyle I want and the business I want and have them be harmonious with each other?
Yeah, yeah, because the burnout part is a big thing. I've experienced that a lot, especially I know I've had a lot of moments where I've feels like I have so much energy that I could keep going. So I do keep going, but then I burn out and then I'm like questioning what happened. I thought I had so much energy. And then
Yes.
it took time to realize that even though I have the energy, I need to pace out and keep balanced. But how does,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
How does
yeah, yeah.
someone,
No,
yeah,
that's a big thing. That's actually what you're talking about, especially because if you're a high achiever and you've got big goals, then the idea is like, oh wait, but if I actually take a break or if I actually do that, then I won't achieve my goal. Right. So there's this fear that sets in about not being able to do what you really want to do to have the complete lifestyle that you want. And actually, the reverse is true. So the more joy you're experiencing, the more good feelings you're having in your life from taking care of yourself and doing the things that bring you joy, the more momentum you have in your business.
yeah,
It's a paradigm shift, because we've been trained to believe that we actually have to work harder to be more successful, but it's not about hard work. It's about energy, and it's about focus and consistency. So
right.
if we shift the conversation from energy, how are we maintaining our energy? How are we managing our energy? What are we doing to manage our energy? And then creating consistent fo- focus on your vision, and breaking that vision down into goals that's also measurable, and then you remain consistent with it while consistently maintaining your energy, you actually end up working a lot less hard.
I see. So yeah, it's where you put your energy and how you manage your energy, and that's what you help people do basically.
but I also give them strategies. So it's not,
Right.
yes, it is what I help people do, but that's only for me a portion of it. Because if I give you that piece, then there's still the 20% of like, okay, what am I meant to be doing? How am I
Yeah.
supposed to be
Yeah.
doing this? What are the strategies? So
Yeah.
the idea is to come up with then the strategy that works specifically for you and your business to go, okay, how do I grow this, grow myself, but not grow the amount of time that it's taking
Yeah.
me, or the
Right.
amount of, I'm going to almost say effort, because it's not that we're not putting a lot of effort into our business, but there's a difference. You know, you've been in flow, right? You felt the moments where you're just in flow and things are just happening and
Yeah.
things are just moving in the direction. And it doesn't feel like there's a lot of,
Yeah.
effort going into that. It's almost effortless.
Yeah. Right.
Right? Setting you into
Yeah.
that state on a regular basis is really what's important, because then the effort that you put in moves the dial so much more without you being in like spending so many hours in a place of suffering.
Wow.
Suffering is frustration, anxiety, depression, depletion, anger, overwhelm, burnout. Like those are all suffering
Yeah,
states.
exactly. Wow. So if someone comes to you with they're all out of balance and their energy's there and here or whatever, and just they're totally out of place, like where do you begin with that person, or what can they do?
That's a great question, because it's really dependent on the person. So for example, I've had multiple clients who come to me and they're working 6.5 days a week, right? And they have no time for their family. They have no time for themselves. They're like burnt out. One client that I had, like she was starting to have major health issues. Certain things were starting to happen that she couldn't really understand. Her health was like starting to break down. And we started by like, what I start to do is I break down what's really happening for her in her business, in her own thought process, and how she's creating the situation that she's creating, and then start to give strategies that actually help her move out of that intense state. And like with this particular client that I'm talking about, within the first month, she took 2 days off, which may not seem like a big deal, but for somebody who worked 6.5 days a week for like years, it was a really big deal for her to take 2 days off. And then she felt rejuvenated, but she would feel really guilty about not working. And then we just kept building on that. And I helped her with she had a team of 10, she had over $500,000 business. And I helped her build her leadership development so that her team was actually stepping up and supporting her more, rather than her always being the one to support them. So she stepped into a leadership role. She started captaining her ship, and we started working on, how she was showing up and being, and the kinds of things that she should be focusing her energy on. And literally within a couple of months, everything shifted in her business. And
Wow.
this was right before COVID. So right when this happened, she went 3 months without making any income in her business. And yet, because of the work that we were doing, after those 3 months, she actually started to make even more money, working only 3 days a week
Wow.
in her business, and spending 3 days a week with her family.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to just see the level, because she was so committed to the processes that she was able to completely turn that around. And this is not an uncommon phenomenon, Keith, with my
Wow.
clients.
Yeah. So it sounds like, yeah, it was really a long-term investment to like that we feel like we have to, so many of us feel like we have to put so much energy and time and hard work, but really in the short term it helps us burn out, and we're not actually we're further along if we find balance, and we'll get a lot further from that.
And
Wow.
it'll be more satisfying and fulfilling, which makes it really sustainable, right? Because
Yeah.
the cycle of hustle, 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 burnout, have to recover, hustle, 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 burnout, have to recover, is like exhausting, and it's
Yeah.
not really that fulfilling, and we keep chasing, more. Whereas like this, and I'm not going to say that there aren't some dips, because there are. Even this client she decided after our initial engagement to continue retaining me, and we've been working together 9 months now. And what her business looks like 9 months later from what it looked like before, now she's moving her business completely online. She has a very different business. Her energy is completely different. She would have been having panic attacks and freaking out when we first started working, and now
Wow.
she's like going, okay, this is really working for me. I don't don't see it yet. I don't understand how it's happening, but I know it's working for me. And so I'm just going to like continue with the faith. And every time she does, she gets another sign that it's like she's moving in the right direction. Something wonderful, some synchronicity happens that goes, oh my God, okay, yes.
Wow.
You know,
That
and again, that continues to happen. So instead of going like this, it kind of moves like this, you know. And it isn't to say that we don't have the dips. We do. Entrepreneurship is filled with tons of failure,
was
but
like,
it's the capacity to look at the failures as data, information, and feedback, and not take it personally.
exactly, lessons, and let's seek the lesson in every experience
Yes.
until you grow from it. So what was the main thing that she did that made the change?
She changed her state of being. She actually became the person that she needed to be to have the kind of business and lifestyle that she wanted. And then the strategies that she needed to implement to actually do that, to make it in the practical realm, you know, to make it happen, A, were pretty apparent to her, but B, took just a little bit, what I would call like a 4 millimeter tweak from me. You know, a 4% distinction. That's all it really took to move her in the right direction, because she was already operating from a different place.
Wow, I see. So when you said that she had to be the person that she was meant to be, what did you mean by that?
Yeah, great question. So, okay. Give me one of your goals, your vision. Let's talk about
Um,
your vision.
I want to build a community of teachers and healers.
Okay.
Mm,
So if you were the person who already had a community of teachers and healers at the size and the level that you wanted, how would you have to show up? Who would you really be to have all of that?
a leader, a teacher, a healer.
Yes. Yes. You'd have a different set of beliefs about what you were capable of, what you could do, how you could accomplish that, and that it was inevitable that that's happening in building.
I see.
Right?
Okay.
There's a level of
Right.
trust and faith of knowing that, of course, this is happening. It's like you wouldn't question it any more than you would question your ability. I'm good. You wouldn't question it any more than you would question your ability to, you know that you could get up and make yourself breakfast this morning.
Yeah, I see. Interesting. So it sounds like it's really about understanding yourself, aligning with your own values and how that aligns with your future goal.
It's aligning with your own values. It's the first part is getting clear on your. I'm apologize that my
No, it's
cat is.
okay.
Okay, the first part is getting clear on your vision and your values, right? Because everything that you should be, that
Always.
you're doing in your life should be moving you towards your vision and your values. And if it isn't, then be evaluating, why is that a priority over what you say you want?
Yeah.
You know, let's take working out, for example. A lot of people, and I'll call bullshit on myself on this.
Yeah.
You know, this year I started out by saying I wanted to get into the best physical shape I've been in my entire adult life. And I started to work out and take action toward that. And then COVID hit. And I made a whole lot of excuses about why I still couldn't do it, because I wasn't motivated to do it by myself in my own home. Bullshit. Total
Right.
bullshit, right? Is that really true that I couldn't do it in my own home? No, it isn't really true. It was the story I was believing. And so what were my priorities? My priorities was probably doing more work, more meditation, you know, more other things rather than working out. So if my goal is really to get into physical shape, but I'm not doing what I need to be doing to make that happen, then there's a competing priority that's really going on, or a competing belief that's really going on. And when we address that, when we deal with that so that we're in alignment with our goals and vision, and then taking consistent action towards it, then our success becomes inevitable.
Well, I see. So the very first step is to be very clear with your vision and where you're trying to go.
Yep.
And the next step is, it
And
sounds,
your why. I'll say your
is your
why.
why.
Your why. Like, why am I
Understand why,
doing
your
this? Like,
beliefs.
we have, like, for example, some people might say, oh, I want to, you know, buy my you know, house of my dreams. Okay, well, that's and there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having material wise, but it's also really superficial. Why do you want that? And when you get down to the real why of why you want it, and then have that be the guiding beacon, then it becomes so much easier to discern, am I on track, or am I doing something that's moving me further away from what I really want?
Right. So yeah, understanding your own motivation and why you're doing what you're doing. Wow. And then
And
um,
then you take that vision and you take that why, and then you break it down into measurable goals. And then you track your progress. How am I doing with this? Am I being consistent with this? Am I doing what I say I'm going to be doing? And if not, why not?
yeah, yeah, I see. So you help them basically explore those things, get clear on the vision, explore their belief system and like what their why is, and then help them manage that and stay balanced within it.
Yes,
Wow,
yes,
awesome. That's
yes.
cool. So how do you help change someone's belief system or operating system and when they're so stuck or like in this, because obviously we developed our belief system based off our past experiences. So it might have stuff to do with trauma and the way our brains are wired from that. How do you shift the belief system and your operating system and perspective?
Yeah, well, you're 100% right. So most of our belief system came from the time that we were in utero to the time that we were 7 years old. That's not to say that some beliefs didn't come in after that, but the vast majority of our belief system was wired into our brains from our magical thinking of a child. So for example, if you ever played soccer and maybe you made one goal, but you missed another and you get off the field and dad says, well, why did you miss that? All of a sudden you start thinking, I'm not good enough. Like I made that one goal, but he didn't see that. So I'm not good enough because I missed it.
Yeah.
If you go to show your mom a drawing when you're 4 or 5 years old and your mom says, oh, that's nice, honey, but I don't have time to look at it. Then all of a sudden you start making the story up that I'm not really valuable and important, and what's valuable to me or what's important to me isn't valuable. And so then we have this part of our brain called the reticular activating system. And if you've ever noticed when you get a new car, you start to see that car everywhere else on the road. It's not
Yeah,
because
I've been
people
doing
went
that
out and
recently, actually.
bought
Yeah.
that car.
Yeah.
It's because the reticular activating system is going in search of what's important to you,
Wow.
right? And so
That's
that car became important to you. So it starts to notice it in your surroundings. So the belief I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy or valuable all of a sudden becomes important to your reticular activating system. And it starts to go in search of all of the experiences and people who can prove that belief, even though it was never true to begin with. So now you're starting to stack on evidence to hardwire this in. So now those neurosynaptic connections, the myelin sheaths, are actually getting thicker and thicker and thicker. And so what we have to do is wire in new beliefs, new states of being, new experiences into the brain and keep them on repetition until the energy, literally, it's like the glue of those old neurosynaptic connections is pulled away and those old neurosynaptic connections are pruned and the energy now goes to the new neurosynaptic connections. So I
cool.
work with my clients. I mean, that's why they pay me the big bucks to do a bunch
Right.
of these different techniques that actually help people do that so they can start understanding how their old paradigm is running the show
Wow.
around them, and then wire in the new beliefs so they can experience something completely
Right.
different.
So you have to you're basically, yeah, replacing old belief systems with new belief systems. And the first thing was you got to really understand your belief system and why you're believing in that, right? And then once you get into that, you're able to shift the perspective and replace it with new perspective.
To be honest, it's less important why you're believing it, but just what the belief is. Like
Okay.
we tend to want to focus on the past, and sometimes it's helpful to go, oh, well, of course, I made that decision back then, because beliefs are really just decisions we made. They're just thoughts we kept on repeat that after a while became beliefs, right? So you made a decision, I'm not good enough. And if you can look at, oh, well, that makes sense that I thought that, but that wasn't true at all. It was just what I believed in the moment. Then you can make a new decision. You can make a new decision to believe something different and then go in search of evidence of where that's
Right.
true.
So yeah, I see. So yeah, self-awareness gives you the control of what path and direction to go. Once you understand
Exactly.
yourself and what how you're operating, now you can shift the perspective and change.
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
belief system. That's awesome. So how did you get into all of this?
Yeah, that's a great question, Keith. So I started out as a lawyer in the music industry in New York City for 18 years, and my career culminated as me being the executive vice president of the largest independent music company. And it was like, from my peers, it was like the pinnacle of success. And when I got into that position, I was like, is this all there is? Is this it? And I realized that I never wanted to be a lawyer in the first place. It was my parents' agenda, and I'd finally achieved enough success that I literally just walked away from it. I just walked away in search of what my purpose was. And I smacked right dab into, some people might call it a midlife crisis. I call it a dark night of the soul, because it could happen at any point in your life. It doesn't have to just happen, in midlife. I know people in their 20s, 30s, and 60s that, have this experience. So it can happen to anybody at any point in their life. And it was a really dark time for me that unraveled all the structures of my life, my finances completely. I went from having a really sweet nest egg to being like almost $100,000 in debt. My marriage fell apart. My relationship with my son got really difficult. I lost a lot of friends. I moved out of the city to a place I didn't know. Like, it was just this confluence of events that created this major crisis in my life. And I started to go in search of ways to relieve my suffering, because the amount of suffering I was experiencing was pretty
Wow.
darn
Yeah.
intense. And most people will only really make radical change when they can't take it anymore and they're
Right.
experiencing
They have
enough
reason.
suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Why?
I was in that place, and I found a woman that I started working with who taught me a technique that started helping me see my belief system and rewire my belief system. And then from there, just things just kept showing up in my life that I understood, oh, that's the next piece of the puzzle. And I learned all of these tools and techniques, which I use to teach my clients about how to rewire my own brain and my own thinking. And I came into this, basically a woke state of understanding the nature of reality in a completely different way. And it brought with me my purpose in life. My purpose is to help others really live their dream on the biggest level that they want, to really scale impact and create that sense of freedom that they want in their
Right.
life. So,
Yeah.
that, what I'll call the dark night of the soul, you know, opened up my purpose for me, not in the way I would have necessarily invited it, but in the
Yeah.
way that was necessary for me to
Absolutely.
learn all of these tools and techniques to be able to teach them to my clients.
Wow. That's awesome. So it sounds like the biggest struggle or obstacle that people face is probably their belief system. Would you say?
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Wow.
yes. It really is true. It's the way they think, it's the way they feel. Because from a quantum physics perspective, so I can tell you this all from a woo-woo spiritual perspective, but I can also tell you everything I do from a scientific perspective. And from a quantum physics perspective, our thoughts are this like broadcast of energy out to the universe, and our emotions are the magnets that bring it back to us. So, so whatever we're thinking and feeling is essentially what's creating our life. And we can try to positive our way out of it, but that doesn't actually work. The universe knows what we're really thinking and feeling,
Yeah.
right? So it's actually doing the work to transform our bodies, because our bodies are literally addicted to the hormones of stress. Like we're like drug addicts to the hormones of stress. And so we keep trying to recreate these stressful experiences so that our bodies can get another hit of these hormones of stress. It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah. That was like so much amazing information, such a short period of time. Like, I was out of questions. That was awesome. But you said you started off as a lawyer.
Yes.
So what do you think, uh, the habits that you built as a lawyer, and how do you think that affected and helped doing what you're like doing now, or did it at all?
I do think, there's, it gave me a sense of confidence to step, because I had a lot of success as a lawyer. So it gave me a lot of confidence. Like, I built a 6-figure coaching and mentoring practice my first year of doing it. So, most coaches don't really do that. There are a handful that do, but most don't. And so it gave me a sense of accomplishment, in a sense like I create success in my life. And that was really helpful. It's not to say that I haven't had major issues along the way, because I have, like, every entrepreneur. I fail far more often than I succeed. It's just that my successes tend to be bigger than my failures, so it keeps moving the dial
Yeah.
forward.
Amazing.
So it helped me understand, the idea that I can create success, and it also gave me, I don't know, this is funny, a certain level of credibility in what I do, that I had this whole successful history, beforehand. It also, I'm not afraid of hard work. I created a lifestyle business, which is really important, but also there are times where I'm super focused on my business and I'm not afraid of hard work. Now, that being said, it also brought with me, I'm going to be totally transparent here. And one of the reasons I help my clients do this is because it also brought with me the idea that I have to work really hard to succeed. So I am always, keeping that in check so that that belief doesn't end up running the show, that the truth of what's really true runs the show, and that that belief doesn't take over. So it's the same thing I do with my clients. I do for myself on a regular basis to ensure that I continue to maintain massive self-care and a lifestyle business.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, you found the perfect balance.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
Harmony. I call it harmony.
Balance and harmony goes hand in hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So in short, real quick, just to wrap that up, you said the finding the perfect balance is what, self-care, understanding yourself, or what were the things, or how would
There is definitely self-care, but the thing is that when you shift your state of being, like if most people were to look at how many hours they spend a day in suffering, how many hours they spend in anxiety, in frustration, in doubt, it adds up to a lot of hours a day. And those hours mean when you're in a state of stress, based on what biologically, I won't go through the whole biological thing because I'll cut this short, but biologically, what happens in your body is that all you can be focused on is survival. You can't experience inspiration. You can't experience being solution oriented or creative. Like all of that stuff becomes out of reach because we're focused on survival. And so actually moving out of stress and more into flow helps you literally get through all of the activities that you would have to do for your business so much quicker with more ease, because you're not, you can tap into levels of inspiration and creativity, higher levels of intelligence, synchronicities start to happen, resources start to show up for you. And all of a sudden there's momentum and energy. And it's, instead of you feeling like you're pushing the boulder up the hill, the boulder has momentum going down the hill on itself.
Yeah. Well, so what would you say to someone they have so much stress and they're panicking? Like, what is the very, very first thing that they should do to get out of that?
Yeah, I would say breathe. Like learn some breathing practices. One of the things I do for one of my clients who has that is I teach her alternate nostril breathing, which balances the hemispheres of the brain. And then the other thing is honestly meditate. My clients who really take that on board and meditate shift their life in radical ways because it moves you out of that stress response. And even if you
Right.
were to start at 5 minutes a day and continue to work your way up, it will start to bleed into other parts of
Right.
your life.
What kind of meditation? Just kind of closing your eyes and just being in the moment? Or because, some people say that when they meditate, they have so much thoughts and they got so
They
much
have
stress
chatter.
and
They have a lot of
how to
chatter. So it's
meditate.
about retraining your brain to, every time you feel the chatter, to come back to the thought, come back to your breathing, come back to a mantra. I tend to like, these days I've been listening to a lot of guided meditations, but I meditate for over an hour a day. So I'm not the right person to
Yeah.
ask for
Cool.
5 minutes, but there are these binaural beats that help sync the hemispheres of the brain. And you could easily find them on YouTube, and you
Right.
can listen to music. And even if you want, just repeat a mantra and just keep coming back to that, because meditation isn't about not having thoughts. We all have thoughts. It's
Right.
about,
Exactly. I
it's
was thinking.
about keep coming back over and over again.
Yeah, and being able to rule your thoughts, not engage in the thoughts. So that's really what like meditation then is for like people just starting out, I'd say, is to like you said, focus on the breathing is a great way to start, and to not engage in thoughts and let your emotion kind of come back to your breathing and be able to rule your thoughts. And over time, you kind of built that habit and that ability to.
Absolutely.
thoughts. And when you
They end up being like clouds passing by then, rather than you getting attached to them. You just go, okay, thought, I might connect to that thought. Oh, I'm thinking, come back. Oh,
yeah,
thought, I might connect to that thought. Oh, I'm thinking, come back. And that's all it really is, over and over again.
exactly. Awesome. So for people who are stressing out, that's the first thing to do, right? Is to focus
Yes.
on breathing, go back to meditation. That helps you rule your thoughts. When you rule your thoughts, now you can take control of your life, your decisions, and then shift your perspective. All
Yes.
aligns. That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yes.
How did you learn? Yeah.
And the other thing that I would say, Keith, this is a really, really important thing. And I don't just say this for me because I do it myself. Hire a mentor, hire a coach. You know,
Definitely.
I almost always am working with a coach because of that, because you can't see the, you can't read the label from inside the jar.
Right.
So somebody else can help you see what you're not
Yeah,
seeing about what you're
exactly.
doing, how you're showing up, your life. And so hire a mentor.
That's definitely very important because we live in our own reality and we don't know that until we see outside of our reality. And that coach can help kind of shift that perspective and see outside, get another perspective. So that's, yeah, definitely a very important point. That's awesome. How did you learn about the brain and stuff like that? Is that kind of just during your path and your journey? You're so interested in
Yes.
studying it?
I'm a total, science geek when it comes to
Yeah,
this.
I
So
love
I
that stuff
study a
too.
lot and I read a lot.
Yeah,
And it's funny because a couple of my clients are physicians and they're not spiritual. So I talk to them in the language of science and they get it.
yeah,
So for me,
yeah,
being able to speak both languages is really important. And I do believe that the
absolutely.
sciences that I study are actually the language of mysticism. They're actually the explanation of mysticism, which for
Yeah.
me marries the two really, really nicely, because it's about, our experience with a power and an intelligence that's higher than us, but it's also all based in science.
Yeah, I think science is a big part of spirituality too. I mean, spirituality is everything, right? Everything is spiritual. It's not just physical. So that science is a big part of that too. And I think because I have a lot of friends and stuff with this kind of the same thing where they're like, I don't believe in this spiritual stuff, but it's like when you actually break it down, and that's why I love metaphysics, is because metaphysics like really goes into the science of spirituality. And it's amazing. So that's, yeah, that's so cool. I love everything. I love your energy too. It's really amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. We went through so much just a short period of time. I don't even know if I have any more questions.
My
Where can
pleasure.
people find you?
So people can find me, on my website, which is www.alainaschwartz.com. So that's ALAINASCHWARTZ. I hang out a lot on LinkedIn, which is how we met. So I network quite a bit. And if you connect with me on LinkedIn, what you find is that I'm a mad connector. So I connect a lot of people with people in my network too. So this isn't just about lead generation or client creation. It's about actually providing value to the people that I connect with, which is really important to me, of value first. So I always start out with value first before anything else. And then I know it comes back to me, the universe provides tenfold.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, all the links will be in the description below, so check that out. And
Awesome.
yeah, thanks so much for coming on. It was amazing.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Great to be here with
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah, you too. Talk soon.
Okay.
Yo, guys, so we just had an amazing session, an amazing conversation with Alaina. We went over so much in just such a short period of time. It was very interesting. We went over a lot of even the science of what's happening in the brain with your belief system and your operating system, and how that kind of your belief system from your experiences and the things you go to have rewired your brain to kind of keep on a certain habit that it could lead you to many challenges and struggles in life and things like that. And we talked with Elaine about how to get out of that, how you can rewire your brain basically, and how she helps to do that. Because one thing she pointed out that was so important near the end of the podcast and the end of the conversation was that having a coach and someone to actually help you see the outside is so important. And the reason is because throughout our entire life, right? From as a child and as we're born into this life, our brain and we're like a piece of clay, and we're morphed and created out of our environment, out of the experiences we go through. Our brain develops habits and is wired by our experiences. And what that is basically we're creating our own reality. So we're living in our own reality. And the hard and struggle part of that is that when you're living in your own reality, right, you think what you see, you believe is all so real. It's the reality. It's your reality, right? It's your reality until you seek outside of it, until you are able to shift your perspective to see more than that, to break through that, and to see yourself and what you believe in and everything from another perspective, another point of view. And that's the importance of a coach, is that a coach helps you do that. Sometimes they're able to see kind of where you're at and see how you're seeing life. And they're trained, not just trained, but they're really focused and take the time to empathize with you, to be able to see where you're seeing things and be able to help you shift your perspective to see outside of that, and shift your perspective, help you shift your belief system, your operating system, so you can proper functionally in the alignment of your values and who you really are and who you're meant to be, instead of carrying all this garbage and all this luggage or suffering that you've kind of built within your brain, that's wired from your past experiences, whatever trauma you may have been through, whatever things you may have been through, that has created your operating system, your belief system, that you're currently making decisions based off of to fulfill whatever purpose you're meant to fulfill and the goals that you have. And sometimes there's conflict between that, because you are a certain way in the way you're built, and you're making decisions or whatever things that are happening in your life that are conflicting and kind of making a friction and getting stuck in those situations that are stopping you from actually achieving your goals and getting to where you need to be. And very importantly, maintaining and managing a proper balance that's right for you to achieve those goals based off how you are. And so, like I said, a coach can really help you shift that perspective, shift that change, and rebalance yourself, and rewire your brain to be who you're really meant to be, and keep you there and help you manage that and to fulfill your goals. So Alaina has helped many people and work with many business owners to help them succeed and scale their business by helping you understand yourself. So it's not really about money. I know there's a lot of coaches out there that focus specifically on the financial part, the actual money side, the monetary side of business. And that's really great for your business overall. But what's really important is your foundation. The foundation of your business is you, is being self-aware, understanding yourself, and being aligned with your vision, so you can bring that to your team, so your team can take that on, so your business can take that on. That is so important. That's what the amazing part about what Alaina does, is really helps you align you and your values to your business, your vision, your goals, and importantly, your team, because that's your whole foundation, your business, that's your environment. And although, as we talked about briefly, was that sometimes, in the short term, it feels like you got to go so hard, you got to work really hard, and you're going all out, and then you end up crashing though. And you might do that and then get back into the grind, but long term, you're actually harming your business, you're harming yourself, because we shouldn't be experiencing any suffering throughout our journey in life. When we're really in alignment, we're in divine balance and harmony, and that's what really, Alaina helps with, is when we're like that, we're really aligned with where we're meant to go. And that's how life should be. We shouldn't be dealing with these struggles. So if you are, having these points in your life where you're crashing, although you might be working really hard, you have all this energy, but then you crash, you're not really living your balanced life, and there's something that's, blocking you, that's making you, you know, be in this state of challenge and whatever it might be, that's not fully in alignment with yourself and not fully in alignment with your goals and your vision and your business. And it's really important that focus on the long term, and the long term is finding that balance and harmony. And that means really aligning with your own values, understanding yourself, and knowing your belief system, so you can help shift it where it needs to be shifted, and help you align with your long-term goal, your vision, your team, your business, and over time, really succeeding, get there. And it's really for the long term. And so I see Alaina and her coaching service really as a long-term investment. I mean, this is really important to have, and to even for her to continue being there for you, to help you manage yourself and your goals and all of that, your values, everything. because it's just so important to have. So anyways, that was a great conversation we had with her. We went over a lot of amazing things. Go check that video out. And not only that, so just, yeah, to conclude everything that, we went over, basically, we went over how to understand your belief system, how to rewire your brain and your belief system, how to shift and expand outside of your perspective, and shift your perspective. We went over, some of the biggest struggles. What is the biggest struggle with people, and the main, struggle that people face throughout, life. And it came down to your belief system. So, understanding your belief system is so important. Understanding how you're wired is so important, and what your why is. And that helps you align with your vision. So one, you got to have a really clear vision. You got to have clear goals. You got to know that and what that is. And Alaina helps you do that. And you also got to be able to understand your why and explore that. What's your motive? What's your belief system based around that? That's something she helps you do, and helps you shift it where it's needed. And for the people who are currently dealing with any struggles, with any stress, with any things like that, where you are crashing and dealing with certain struggles within anxiety, stress, things like that. Remember, the first thing we went over in this video. The first thing to do is to breathe and to go to meditation. If it's for 5 minutes, you got to have a starting point. So start with a quick 5-minute meditation, and focus on your breathing. Focus on not engaging in thoughts and emotionally engaging in thoughts. And thoughts come, what you're doing here is really wiring your brain to be able to rule your own thoughts. You're building your willpower. So that way you can control your thoughts, control your mind, control your words, your action. That's, so important, because those are the vital centers of our body as a human being, the vital center of our characteristics that we want to maintain and control. That way we can really find balance and manage our life properly, and the decisions we make, and have our control over that, so we can actually help ourselves reach our goals and align with our long-term vision. So we're the ones in control of the wiring of our brain, not our environment. Our environment, has a big part of us being wired in the way we do, but being born into this world, we weren't as aware of that, so we let our environment wire us. But now we can be aware of ourselves to wire ourselves, and to be careful in the decisions that we make, to where we put ourselves and what environments we put ourselves. It starts with you first. So anyways, we went over a lot, like I said, a lot of amazing information. I really appreciate talking to Alaina. All the links in the description. You want to find her LinkedIn, it's down in the description below. There might be some other links that I put down there. Go check her out. Go check her website out and the services. And again, thanks for watching. This was the Merging Minds podcast, 6th episode. And you could also, it's powered by the All Is One movement. So go check that out. Go follow All Is One movement on Instagram. Check out the website, subscribe. We're on a mission to bring people together physically and spiritually, and make different perspectives go viral. So again, also, if you have something to say, if you have something you want to share, please comment down below, like the video, and you can go on the website, allisonemovement.com, go to podcast section, and you could apply to also be on the podcast if you want to share something. Let's talk about it. Let's share it with the world. Let's learn and grow together. Until next time, I'll see you. And don't forget to subscribe and stay in tune and share this video. Again, appreciate you coming on. Have a good, a beautiful, wonderful day, and I'll see you till next time.